Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger.
And I'm Jeanelle Slade. A Billings suspect changes his plea to guilty after slamming his truck into a highway work crew, killing another Billings man last fall.
Investigators say 28-year-old Ethan Anderson was severely impaired after huffing a chemical and then crashing his flatbed truck at the I-90 off-ramp on South Billings Boulevard.
Local father, husband, friend, and colleague 52-year-old Jeff Dykeman was killed at the scene last October.
Well, today Anderson pleaded guilty to negligent vehicular homicide and 2 counts of criminal endangerment. Anderson was driving under the influence of difluoroethane at the time of the crash, which severely impaired him. Court documents say a can of dust-off, which is known to contain that chemical, was found in Anderson's truck.
The maximum penalty for vehicular homicide is 30 years in prison. Anderson is expected to appear in a special sentencing hearing next month.
This morning, the Billings Police Department sent out a tweet warning people about a large number of fraud reports.
So tonight, Q2 Zoe Zandora has more on what you need to look out for.
Since June 1st, the Billings Police Department has received about 45 fraud reports, 19 of those received on July 8th alone. The Billings Police say they believe someone is using a credit card skimmer to clone card information and PIN numbers, and says all the victims so far were still in possession of their cards despite the transactions. The suspect then uses the clone card at a gas station ATM to withdraw low amounts of money. Now, since the amounts are low, many people may not make a report to police and just protest the charges with the card company. So how can you protect yourself? Well, experts say to cover the keypad when you're entering your PIN number, because sometimes the thieves will use a micro camera to capture the information. Billings police say, as a consumer protection reminder, they encourage people to monitor their accounts, beware of any unusual devices attached to card inserts, and report any suspicious activity. In Billings, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
Well, Billings police asking anyone who notices unauthorized purchases on their cards to make a police report by calling 657-8200.
Well, the timing couldn't be better for the Billings Logan International Airport to receive a $1 million federal grant.
With a $50 million terminal expansion on the way and fire equipment that's almost expired, airport staff will be putting that to good use. Q2's Mitch Legge standing by now with more. Mitch?
Russ and Jeanelle, the Billings Airport Director of Aviation and Transit, Kevin Plone, said the $1 million grant is welcome news. This grant is part of a larger $47 million in funding that will be given to airports across Montana. Both Montana Senators John Tester and Steve Daines helped secure that $1 million grant. This money will allow the Billings Airport to purchase $200,000 worth of aircraft rescue and firefighting equipment. Plone said some of the current firefighting equipment has expiration dates that are about to be reached. The remaining $800,000 will help pay for design and architecture work that has gone into planning the Billings Airport's terminal expansion. Work on the expansion is scheduled to start September 23rd and be complete in 2023. Plone says he's actually hoping the federal government will come through with a few more grants before the year is out.
We'll probably get a couple more grants this year. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I know we'll get at least one more. 2 would be great. And so when that happens, wonderful. But each year, you know, we get notification from the senator's office, and we always are thankful that, you know, they're out there helping support our local community and our local airport. It's very important to us.
And keep an eye out for the airport construction starting September 23rd. Plone said that travelers in the airport will only see a minimal impact to typical operations. Russ and Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Mitch.
The heavy metal band Slayer is slated to play one of its very last shows ever in Billings later this year.
Now, Slayer will headline the 4-band concert, which also includes Primus, Ministry, and Phil Anselmo of Pantera. The concert is scheduled for November 22nd at the First Interstate Arena at Metro Park.
The group, formed more than 3 decades ago, is calling this tour its last.
One of the coolest things about getting Slayer to First Interstate Arena is it's one of the last shows they're ever going to do. Slayer will be here on November 22nd. Their final show is November 30 in Los Angeles. So those who are big Slayer fans, this is going to be a great opportunity to see them. Plus, they have never played Billings before.
And here's a look at some of the other big shows coming up this summer. July 25th is Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson, and just days later, Disturbed will hit the stage.
Then it's Montana Fair with 3 concerts in a row. It kicks off with Black Hawk, Restless Hearts in Shenandoah, followed by 98 Degrees and Old Dominion. And finally, on August 25th, Weird Al will be in Billings.
Meanwhile, Massey says keep your eye out as they have a few more concert announcements coming up in the next week.
On to the weather scene. Bob McGuire joining us tonight. Bob, a lot of sudden rain today. It just started pouring down, but we're expecting things to get a little more sunny.
Yeah, finally. This is probably the end of the line. Let me show you what's happening. We go right now to the graphic, and the main weather story today is that low pressure cell up in North Dakota. What it's been doing is pulling moisture down from British Columbia through Great Falls into the Billings area. It wraps it around and on up into that upper level low and spins a lot of moisture in towards the northeastern corner of the state. So that rainfall comes from a long way. But I can tell you, here in the Billings area, we wind up with 11/100ths of an inch of rainfall out of it. But look at over there, Williston, North Dakota. Almost 3 inches of rain has fallen in that area. And so we still have, because of that, a flash flood watch in northeastern Montana for a few more minutes more until at 6 o'clock tonight. And as you see here, we're still looking at some scattered rain showers moving in. And look at all the heavy rainfall we've had. In some cases, like Miles City, had 3.4 inches of rain. A lot of places like over there in Williston, North Dakota, 2.6 inches. Other places like Baker had 2.1 inches of rain. So it's been a big, very wet day across most of eastern Montana. But we'll talk about what's coming up next in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, strong words and action from a federal judge in Mammoth Hot Springs today as he sentenced a San Francisco man who left the boardwalk at Grand Prismatic Springs. 28-year-old Jason Nguyen, seen here in a photo posted to social media by the person who reported him, walked hundreds of yards across sensitive algal mats at the end of May. Now, Nguyen, who appeared by phone from California today, had reached a plea agreement with the U.S. attorney to pay a $1,540 fine. But Judge Mark Carmen bypassed the sentencing deal. He reduced the fine to $1,040, but tacked on 4 days in jail, 1 year's probation, and 1 year ban from the park. Now, Judge Carmen said today the Grand Prismatic is one of the greatest scenic areas in the country and told Nguyen, quote, "We will not tolerate people who damage resources."
We're learning of an incident that sent 3 people to the hospital in Glacier National Park Monday night. A car crashed on going to the Sun Road, then plunged some 40 feet down an embankment. This all happening around 5 o'clock near Packers Roost, which is several miles below the loop. We're told the vehicle had swerved to avoid another car that was stopped in the roadway to view a bear that was walking along the road. Park rangers performed a technical rescue for the people in the vehicle, during which traffic was stopped and the area was closed to visitors. One of the occupants was transported to the hospital by alert helicopter. The other 2 were taken by ambulance.
Well, some proof that pallid sturgeon fish are spawning in Montana could potentially indicate a big step in the species recovery. Northwestern Energy biologists report now they have found several sturgeon eggs and larvae in the Marias and Teton River systems. Lab results must now confirm if they are pallid sturgeon or the more common shovel-nosed sturgeon. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks estimates about 4,900 pallid sturgeon live in the 200-mile stretch of the Missouri River from Maroney Dam down to Fort Peck. At one time, there were only 33 adult pallid sturgeon total in that stretch of the river. Grant Grisak, a fish biologist for Northwestern Energy, says this is a big step if they really are in fact spawning.
The ultimate goal is to get them to a self-sustaining population, and because they are such a long-lived fish, we started off with such low numbers. We're probably halfway to that benchmark.
The pallid sturgeon is one of the rarest and largest freshwater fish in North America. It takes around 15 years for pallid to reach maturity, and the first stock was released into the upper Missouri in 1997.
Billionaire philanthropist and former presidential candidate Ross Perot has died at the age of 89. He was diagnosed with leukemia just 5 months ago. Back in October of 2005, Perot appeared in Bozeman at Montana State University to receive a Stibitz Award, which honors pioneers in computer and technology fields. Perot spoke to MSU students, telling them how he got to where he was and offered advice as they prepared to enter the workforce. He also credited luck for a lot of his success.
Well, more statewide news is on its way, and here's where you can check it out. I'm Andrea Lutz. We're tracking all the big developing stories across the state of Montana. And Bob McGuire, he is back to get you your forecast. It's all coming up tonight on the MTN 9 o'clock news on the CW.
But first, still to come on tonight's 5:30 news, medicine isn't a one-size-fits-all sort of practice, and this new initiative is working to make sure your medical plans are customized for you.
And tonight in sports, Q2's Athlete of the Week is number 3 in bull riding's world standings. We hear from Parker Bredding.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.